Hello and welcome. Today we are going to discuss literature. And in literature, I would like us to talk about comedy. There are questions that I have had to entertain from different persons as regards this comedy in literature. And that is the reason why today I decided to take comedy. Now, whenever you talk about comedy, what does it mean? You see, there was a time that we were told that comedy is a type of drama or a branch of drama which begins happily and ends happily. So many of us were taught that way. And I am not going to tell you that that is totally wrong. For the fact that there is something about happiness there, that definition is not so wrong. But then I always refer to it as being too elementary, to being too limited to fully explain what comedy is. I rather go by the definition that comedy is a branch or a type of drama which is meant to invoke laughter. It is a type of the drama that is meant to induce laughter. That is to say that the major aim of comedy is to provoke laughter among the audience and to make the audience happy. So when next somebody asks you about comedy, it is better that you define comedy as a type of drama that is meant to invoke laughter and to make the audience happy. Now, this comedy that we're talking about has types. There are different types of the comedy. We have what we know as the satirical comedy. This satirical comedy, some persons might decide to refer to it simply as satire. Now, they mean the same thing. Whether you refer to it as satirical comedy or you decide to refer to it as satire, you are still talking about the same thing. Now, what is this satire? The satire is a type of comedy that aims at correcting certain ills in the society. When you talk about certain ills in the society, we mean certain ideas, certain principles, certain philosophies, certain notions, certain beliefs, some things, some behaviors that are regarded to be unacceptable, but they are there, they are existent in the society. Now, a person decides to criticize such kind of an ill, such kind of a notion, or such kind of a policy, and the person decides to do that in the way of literature. Now, most of the times, the person will choose to go through this comedy, satirical comedy. That is to say that the person presents that, the person acts out that particular thing that the person wants to criticize, but the person presents it in a mocking way. The person makes mockery of it. It is comic. Whenever you are seeing this type of comedy, you laugh. But at the end, you will find out that there is something that this thing wants to teach. It wants to tell you that this is wrong, that this has to be looked into. Now, this type of comedy is what we refer to as satirical comedy. We say that the satirical comedy is a type of comedy, that aims at correcting certain ills in the society. Now, to illustrate this, if you are conversant with, let me use Mark Angel's comedy. If you are conversant with that, there is this particular place where you see Emanuela having some kind of discussion with a professor, with I think a university lecturer, and you see the university lecturer Emanuela saying something about God, grace of God, and you hear the lecturer asking Emanuela, "Can you see God? Have you touched him?" Now, if you cannot see him and you cannot touch him, then God does not exist. And to counter that belief, to counter that notion of the professor or the lecturer, as you may wish to take him to be. Now, you hear Emanuela asking him, "How did you get to know about this?" And the man says, "Common sense." Then the next question Emanuela asks is, "Can you see your sense?" The man said no. "Can you touch your sense?" The man said no. And for that reason, Emanuela says, "For that reason, you do not have sense." Now, if you take a look at the way this thing is acted, you will laugh because it is comic. But through that, Mark Angel's comedy wishes to correct some ills, that belief of some people that God does not exist. He wishes to attack that, but he does it in a way of mockery. Now, such kind of a comedy where you laugh, but there is something that it wishes to teach you, is what we refer to as satirical comedy. Now, we have the second type of comedy that we refer to as romantic comedy. Most of the times, When you mention this romantic comedy, especially among naughty students, the first place that their minds will go to is the bed. Now, when you talk about this romantic comedy, we are not talking about anything romance in quotes, just like most people have in mind. If you talk about romantic comedy, in fact, in literature, once you come across the word romance, romance means love. Now, romantic comedy is a type of comedy that treats love affairs. It's as simple as that. That type of comedy where you see two persons in love, in most of the cases, their love is being combated. Maybe they are in love, they want to get married, but you see some factors or some persons trying to prevent that marriage from taking place. In the end, their love will conquer and they will get married. Now, whenever you see this kind of a comedy, this kind of a drama, it does not always involve death. It treats love. At the end of it, you see these two persons conquering and getting married. You see their love winning at the end. This type is what we refer to as romantic comedy. It treats love affairs. Now, after the romantic comedy, you have something we refer to as comedy of manners. Comedy of manners. This type of comedy, it simply exposes or it simply presents the lifestyles of different sets of people, the lifestyles of different classes of people in the society. This is where you see a particular movie or a particular drama presenting to you the lifestyle of people in the royal realm. I mean, kings, queens, princes, princesses, and the rest of them. There are some of them that will just decide to focus on the kind of life that royals live. There are some of them that will decide to focus on the kind of life that political elites live. There are some of them that will pick and it decides to focus on how religious people live. Now, the comedy of manners is a type of comedy that focuses on the lifestyles of different kinds of people, of different classes of people in the society. And finally, we have what we know as the farce. Now, when you talk about farce, what does it mean? I am going to ask a question. Are you conversant with Tom and Jerry? It's a comic work. You find out that each time you slot in this disc, I mean Tom and Jerry, if you sit down and see that movie for 2 hours, it's possible that you'll be laughing for that 2 hours, throughout that 2 hours. Now, you'll be laughing, you'll be happy, you'll be mirthful. At the end, you ask yourself, were you able to learn anything from this? No. Maybe at a time you see where Tom gets angry with Jerry and swallows him. It's exaggerated. You see Tom angrily swallow Jerry, for instance. And for instance, you happen to see Jerry begging him inside his stomach, begging him to please vomit him. If children happen to be seeing this, they will keep laughing. At the end, there is nothing that you learn. Now, this is a kind of comedy that we refer to as farce. A farce is a type of comedy that makes use of exaggerated characters and exaggerated events to provoke laughter without passing across any serious lessons. The major aim of the farce is to provoke laughter. And in doing this, it employs exaggerated characters. It makes use of exaggerated events, that is, exaggerated occurrences, just for the sole aim of making the audience to laugh. At the end, it does not have anything to teach. This is what we refer to as farce. Now, when next somebody comes to ask you about comedy and its types, I believe you can confidently explain to that person what comedy is and as well add the types of comedy that we have. Thank you.